It's Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium, and in part 3, we have got our covers done, we have got our pockets done, our tags done. It's completely done. Ooh, we even have tabs on our pocket inserts. Stick with me and I will show you exactly what you need to do to create this beauty. So I feel like this process video is going to be a little bit more choppy and might not have the quite the flow that my tutorials normally have. And the reason being is as I tackle each element, meaning the front cover, the back cover, the spine, the inside, front cover and back cover, is I'm going to be doing a video for each one of those components. And so I've been tackling and been thinking about how to do the outside covers. I want to really encapsulate the feel of a calendar album. So I want all aspects of each one of the gnome pages to be reflected on the outside. So I've decided to take apart the sheets that we had left over. So I'm going to take the January 1st. So you see there's just one little bit cut out, and I literally went through and just cut one piece. So one of these, they're roughly 3x3. Some ended up being a little bit shorter. So what I ended up doing is I ended up trimming all of them. Once I got them out of the page, and I just used an X-Acto blade with a metal ruler. And so I've got now little blank squares. I did try to make sure that they were kind of on the corner, not really in the middle. I know it means that probably for some of them, they weren't my favorite ones, but I felt like it was the best choice. The only one that was challenging was the October one, and you'll see that in a second because I'm going to show you. The October one was basically this part. So this was a very long one, but I really had nothing here that was even close to like a 3x3. I could have cut this part out, but was not really psyched about cutting that big of a chunk out of kind of the middle. So, and this guy up here was my second choice and is just not big enough. So anyways, so I ended up cutting just the little banners. October's going to be on the back anyways, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. But this is kind of what my layout is. So I've taken each one of the days, not the days, but the months, cut out a square, one of the square elements. I've trimmed it so that it's now 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. The black cardstock underneath is 3x3, so it gives us a nice little border. And I'm just going to lay them kind of looking like they just kind of were tossed there, but there's a lot of thought has gone into where the placement of everything. And so the reason for that is if it's got words, I want to make sure the words can be read, but want to also make sure that I can put as much on there as I possibly can. The gaps, I've covered the top, the front and the back have been covered in black cardstock. So that's to cover obviously the chipboard. I will be putting a color on top. Now, if you remember, the album is actually, the cover is 7x7. So some of the remnants, so meaning like this 6x6 sheet, will work. It's just going to give us a very large border, a larger border than I think I want. However, for the time being, so while I figure out what's going to go on in the background, I've cut myself another piece of heavier cardstock. So this is 110 pound. And the only reason why I cut 110 pound is because I want something at least a little bit durable. And so I'm going to take my little Post-it tape and I'm going to stick these on where they are. The Post-it note tape, or there's a couple of other tapes. If you've purchased the Better Press, you've got this, although I would prefer just leaving that for when I'm actually using the Better Press. This really kind of tears really nicely. Some washi tape may work, but washi can be very tacky on the back. So, you know, you don't want to get to this point and then start peeling off your tape and having stuff rip. So just be very cautious in terms of what it is that you are using. And if you are using washi tape, maybe put it on your pants or an item of clothing once or twice to really reduce the how sticky it is. That will often work. And the reason why I'm doing this is because obviously I don't want this going too far outside where the outer limits of our front and back covers. This one's just going to be our front cover. So I'm going to be trimming off as I flip it over to the back. I'm going to be taking, you can either do it with a ruler and an X-Acto blade, which may be better. I'm not 100% sure. If you have really sharp scissors, you can obviously use those, and I'm looking for those, and they're right here. So I'm just going to take this and start trimming using the cardstock as my guide. And I know I'm trimming off the little guys, but you know, I really liked the kind of the chaos that would be the cover. So it's you know, I examined and looked and entertained doing just, you know, maybe 4 on the front, and then I could do 4 and they would all be neatly placed side by side. It would be beautiful. So again, this really goes to personal preference. I am going through like 2 layers of cardstock, which is not, it's not difficult by any means. It's, especially when you're trying to do something that's a little bit more detailed, is a little bit more challenging, but if your scissors are sharp, you should have no problem. There. Okay, so all that's done. This is what it's going to look like. I actually really like it. And the fact that there would be like a bit of, this is where kind of the cardstock would end. I'm actually really, I'm enjoying this, minus all these white little dots where the Post-it tape has gone. So this is going to be my front cover. My back cover is going to be something very similar in the sense that I'm going to be using the last 6 months of the year. So we have January, February, March, April, May, June. I may decide to pop maybe a couple up on some chipboard or something, but I feel like that also might, you know, get very involved since there's a lot of layers here. So, and I feel like the black, doing a color, you could always use some of the solid, of course. So whatever color you used in your album. So for January, I could have used this kind of teal color as my background instead of black, but good old solid black goes with everything. So I feel like I won't have much clashing when it comes to the color that I choose for the background. So this is what I've done for my cover. And if you stick with me, I will show you what I'm doing for my back. All right. Okay. So this is going to be the back cover. I've already done the front cover. I've chosen this like bright lime green because I feel like that's going to really make other items pop. And so that is what the front looks like right now. So this is on our album. And I'm just so pleased with how it turned out that I'm going to set that aside. I wanted to go through kind of my process for now getting... So I would definitely recommend, if you are doing this, choose your background first, then put your little cards, arrange them, trim it. You could trim it with a guillotine, which I probably should have done, but that's, you know, me doing it the hard way. So anyway, what I did though is I just kind of peeled away any of the Post-it tape that was stuck to the back and just kind of, you know, gently moved it over. The items are not going to stay in place. The other thing I did was I took pictures. I took pictures with my phone because I sometimes come up with a really good idea, and then if I don't somehow document it, it's as good as gone, possibly within seconds. So you're definitely going to want to record something along those lines. So now that I have it all moved, I can take it off my black piece of cardstock, and it falls in line fairly decently, at least. So it's just a matter, these 4 have been cut. The 2 in the middle, well, this one in particular, this top one has not. This bottom one has been trimmed at the bottom. So the 4 corners are going to be the easiest, but if you've not cut the bottom and the side, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to figure out where it fits in amongst everything. I found that the bottom ones were probably the most challenging. So just something to note, because on the cover, this bottom right does not actually have anything trimmed off the bottom. So just something to note. So as I start peeling these back, I'm just going to take my glue. Like I said before, you really don't need a lot, and I'm starting to get used to, I'm so used to like really having to squeeze because it was so, I was so down to the bottom little bits. And then we're just going to line up the side and the top and move it around, like make sure that you've got a good vantage point. Obviously I'm, you know, recording and I want to at least make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So I just go one by one and I peel it off and apply some glue and get the little cards placed. And I think with any of the really open areas, keep in mind we've got a ton of stickers. If stickers aren't your thing, you can always go back to the cut apart page, choose like maybe a little circle. There's a ton of little sayings. There's these strips at the bottom. So you do have a lot of options when it comes to, you know, where things are going to land and how full you want it to make, how full you want it to be, or how open. Like if you really like having that background color peek through, and I think the lime green is quite bright, but I love how it makes everything else pop. So I feel like with the black, it was really getting lost. So now I'm just going to try and remember as best I can where this summer one was. And of course, you don't have to go by month necessarily. You can certainly, if you just want to be very random, then just choose whichever ones you want on the front, put them on the front. Whichever ones you want on the back, put them on the back. It's not like this is whatever it is you want to make it. So if you have preference with regards to the colors or the like the cut aparts, you can easily arrange them however you would like. So there's that one, and then I'm gonna put the little holiday guys. Trying to make sure that that's all. There we go. And then the last one. Of course, it helps that the Halloween one really doesn't have any words. Gets more challenging if you're choosing one with words. So just keep that in mind as well. And then I'm going to put this guy down on the bottom. Move this one over a touch there. Right. So again, the other thing to note is definitely make yourself a note. If you're someone that normally decorates on your album, like you apply everything to it and then you decorate it, I would really, really recommend that you decorate this first and then put it on your album. And I've already covered them, like I said before, with my black cardstock. I'm going to use, instead of just using glue, I'm going to be using my double-sided tape to apply that to the to the outside. And then, yeah, we're going to continue on. We've got our spine to do as well. And then the more and more I think about it, the more I like the idea of possibly using those tags that we have in the cut apart sheet. I really want to add some pockets. That only adds to the real estate. So definitely stay tuned, because that is going to be my next. Spines and the inside are coming up next. So now I'm tackling the spine for the outside of our album, and it's taken me a little bit to kind of figure out what it is that I want to do, and because I wanted to somehow incorporate all the months of the year like we did to the front cover and the back cover. And so my best shot at it, I thought about using some stickers. I thought about using like a bunch of other things. And I think the key here is on each of the sheets that we have left over, that I have left over, at the very bottom, let me just find one here. At the very bottom, you'll have a strip or two. At the very bottom, you'll have the month, and sometimes next to the month, there'll be either another strip of pattern, or it'll have a saying, like, I think in May it says May, and then it has Mother's Day on the other side. So what I've decided is I've cut little pieces of the strips. This is kind of my model, my base for my spine. Sorry, my brain really isn't working very well today. And my spine is, this piece, not my spine, but this piece is 3 3/4 by 6 3/4. So I've cut my piece out. I am not going to put this on my book until I have it all decorated, like I did for the front cover and the back cover. So with each one of these pieces, so this one is January, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I cut all of these strips. They're narrower than how they come off the sheet. So I have like this piece was the other side, and then I cut some off. So the pattern paper ends up being just shy of 3/8 of an inch. So if you see the 3/8 mark, normally when I'm cutting, I just barely come over it, right? I cover it to cut my page or my paper. In this case, I line it up. I'm actually gonna see how close I can do this. Unfortunately, the light's not very good up here though. Okay, so this line right here is the 3/4. So I'm gonna come right before it. So it's just a hair before the 3/8, not 3/4, 3/8 line. So that's what I do for the pattern paper. And then for the black cardstock, I go to the one right next to it, the little line. So that would be, oh geez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7/16. I know that's dirty. That's rude. Very rude of me to include 16ths, but it's just a little bit bigger. It's not a half. I feel like we're not going to have enough room. And so that's what I cut my black pieces. You don't see a lot of it. And that's fine. The point of this is I wanted to have some black, and including it anywhere else was just not working. So if you've come up with a better idea, by all means, like I would love to see it. Of course, you know, I like I said, I've just been racking my brain. And as I come down, I'm either going to line them up straight with a little tiny bit of green in between, or I might do, cause like, I feel like the front cover, there was nothing organized. Really, it's supposed to look chaotic. Although there's a lot of organization that went into that. But I want the same kind of feel for the spine. So I feel like I might do a little bit of kind of topsy-turvy a little bit. So these are all cut at 4 inches in length. We're going to end up chopping the sides once they're applied. So this is my idea for my spine. Want to hang tight for just a moment, then I'll be back to show you the finished product. Okay, so I'm actually really happy with the way this turned out. So obviously I've put down all my layers, and then there were some gaps. So just like there's gaps with our front cover, however, I haven't used any of the stickers on that yet. I was doing a little bit of experimenting with this, with our spine, and I love the way it turned out. So we've got little stickers from our sticker pages. Obviously they're from our sticker pages, and I've chosen stickers that obviously represent that particular month. So we've got snowflakes and XOXOs for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. So we've got all of our months now on the spine. We have all of our months on the front cover and the back cover, and we still have some of the inside to tackle as well. So just stick with me, because I'm recording this as I do things, because I know if I write down some notes, it just is not going to happen. When I go back to record it, I'm probably not going to remember what it was that, you know, if I had a great idea. So I'm taking things a little bit differently, or I'm handling things, doing things a little bit differently this time. So if you do have any feedback, by all means, post something in the comments below, because your feedback is how I'm going to learn to grow and, you know, record my videos and post my videos as, you know, you guys like to see them. So I really do appreciate your feedback. I also did cut out A Year with My Gnomies. This is just the little thing at the bottom, the strip. I can't even remember what it's called now. And so I cut one out. There is one at the front, on the front cover. I made the mistake last year. I tossed my sheet, and I'm kicking myself now for it, because I probably would put this somewhere in the album. I still may cut a second one and have it somewhere. So I don't know. I mean, you'll have to, it may be the Where's Waldo of my album. Maybe I'll hide that a couple of places in the album and give it to somebody and say, if you can find the A Year with My Gnomies. Anyways, so, but I digress. So anyways, stick with me because I am super excited. We are kind of in the home stretch. Now the design parts are going to fall into place, and I'm super excited to share it with you. So hang tight, and I'll be back with the inside covers. Okay, so we have done the front cover, the back cover, the spine. One thing I did want to note, that if you were thinking about doing this for your spine, when you put your stickers on, use your bone folder to gently press into the kind of layers, because we've got the decorative, we've got the design paper, we've got the black layer, that becomes quite thick. And these stickers that are part of the A Year with My Gnomie or A Year with My Gnomies are actually quite thick, like they're cardstock stickers. So they don't always want to bend the way you want to. So I found that kind of giving them some encouragement with my bone folder. I don't want to press, you don't want to press too hard, obviously. Don't do this while it's installed, because holding it like this, putting pressure, is also going to put a lot of pressure on your spine, and you don't want that cracking or breaking or anything. So just something to do, definitely, whilst I normally say do your, I do my decorating once everything is installed. This is like probably the only exception, at least for me. So this way you can apply things properly and obviously do the cuts that you need, that kind of thing. So while I did trim the front and back cover with my scissors, I ended up using my guillotine to trim this one, because again, you're trimming through 2 layers of cardstock. So that, and some areas where we've got it overlapping, it's like 4 layers. So it was quite challenging, but I took my time and everything's good. So I really like the way that turned out. So on the inside is what we're focusing on for the rest of this tutorial, really. And so as you can see, I put in a pocket. So we've got a big pocket here because we're going to end up doing our tags. So we'll have about 12 tags for the front. We'll have 12 tags for the back. There are 2 tags for each month. And so I've got all my tags cut. I've got them inked. Those are ready to go. I've got more circles for the rest of the months on the pocket, the front of the pocket. I've got the rest of the little sayings. So the sayings came from, in that cut apart page, you're going to have several sayings. And so 2, 4, 6, there's 8. So I've already cut 2 off. There's 1 saying that's going to go on the pocket front, and I'm going to duplicate that for the back. And then we're also going to be doing, I've already actually cut it up, but we're going to do our, as well today, we are going to create, because don't forget, our signatures, every signature has a pocket. If I can fit this in, oh, I might have to trim, you know what? I was using 65 pound earlier and this is 110, so I might have to rethink that. Anyways, it's got a pocket on every signature is a pocket. So that increases the amount of space of where we can have photos or journaling, whatever you want, things that happened in that month. So there's going to be a tab. So if you noticed when I stuck it in, there was quite a bit of space. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm going to have to rethink that. So there is some space right here. And you can see that, judging by, because there's the back, there's about a half an inch or so. So we're going to cut this using a handy dandy trick that I kind of learned years ago to create little tabs. And you use your actual, if you've got an envelope punch, that's great. It'll come in handy here. If not, you could just use your ruler and pencil and scissors, craft knife, whatever you use to cut. So I've cut another 12 of these little fun kind of words that have to do with that month. And those are going to go on our pocket inserts. So that's everything that we are going to be doing today. And, you know, that combined with the front cover, the back cover, we've got all of the design elements done. And then the rest of it is, if you'd like to go through the sticker page and add stickers, I still think in maybe the larger gaps that I might do that. But now that it's installed, I'm almost tempted not to, because I wouldn't want it hanging over the edge. So I think I might leave the stickers for now, because we're also planning, because we do still have quite a large amount of cardstock left over, including the solid, if you happen to use it. And so with this, I am wanting to come up with another project. It's probably going to fall to the back burner for just a minute, because I have a couple of other albums that I have to do. Well, I don't have to do, but one of them I do, and the other one I think I've put off long enough. I did a sneak peek walkthrough on a baby girl album ages ago, and I need to do that album. I need to do that tutorial. So that will be coming up immediately following this, but rest assured I will be getting back to my Gnomies and, you know, figuring all that out. You also have, the circles, these, each one of the months, you'll have a part of the cut apart page. You'll have a larger circle. This is 2.5 inches, and 2 smaller circles, which are 1 1/4. I happen to have a 1 1/4 punch, so that made my life a little bit easier. And then the black is a 1.5 inch punch. And so if you happen to have those, if you happen to have dies, that certainly would make your life easier. But if you like fussy cutting, or if you don't have the other elements, you can easily fussy cut these. They're circles, so they're pretty, you know, easy to cut. So every month we'll have this as part of the cut apart page, and I think these were either connected or the words were in between, which is why I have these up apart as well. And those might be part of this album. They may be part of my future project. So anyways, you'll end up with those. Also, the tags I already talked about, the words I already talked about. Okay, so I guess it's just a matter of getting into it. So I'm going to go through how to create this pocket. It's super, super simple. So I'm going to set aside everything else that I have on my desk. We also have strips galore because, of course, these came from our cut apart page. So there's plenty of things to decorate. Okay, so for the pocket, you are going to need a piece that is cut 7 3/4 by 3 1/2, and this is scored on either ends, so the long ends. So we have the 7 3/4 at the top, and we score at 1/2, and we score at 4. I don't know why I can't get my numbers right today. We score at 1/2. And we score at 7 1/4. So basically there's a 1/2 inch tab on either end. And then we flip it around. So with the 3 1/2 at the top, we can score at 3 inches. So we have a 1/2 inch tab, a 1/2 inch tab, and another 1/2 inch tab. So once you've done that, then I've applied double-sided tape to each side. You know what? I'm going to move this for the moment, so it's not in my way. So I've applied the double-sided tape to each of the tabs that I've created, and this is going to allow me to fold them back. So I want the double-sided tape right now is going to be facing up. And before I do any folding, I'm going to take these scissors and I'm going to cut the corners off. So I want to go into where those 2 score marks come together. I'm going in and then I just fan out. It's not straight across. It's a little bit, you can see that that's not straight across. There's a little bit of a pie shape. You can cut it straight across if you want. It's up to you. I go easy cutting into the corner because if you're obviously cutting through a couple more layers here and it's a little sticky, so if I put too much pressure, it goes blazing through, and then I usually end up with a really weird looking corner. Okay, so I'm going to fold this. I'm going to burnish it really well with my bone folder, and then get these side tabs. And these pockets come together super, super quickly. And you just want to make sure that your corners, like I've got a little bit of extra here, so I didn't go into the corner enough. You can either just take your scissors and trim it a little bit, especially if it's just a little bit. I don't worry about that too much. And then when you're putting your pocket in, I like to make sure that the bottom, the longest tab, is on top of the 2 side tabs. So I'm just going to take some of the adhesive backing on either end, fold that back on either side, there. And I'm just going to fold the larger on top. And it's just it is staying down because I've revealed some of the sticky double-sided tape. And then I'm just going to fold back the other side. And now I can install it. So the other piece, just want to mention this really quickly, is the piece that you see here does not go all the way down. And that is just from a space saving, a paper saving kind of logic. So that's why I've not applied it first. I'm putting my pocket down first, and using the fact that this bottom corner, I'm just going to stand up so I can get a better vantage point without sticking my head in the camera. This side is less tacky because the double-sided tape is still got its adhesive backing. So if I just kind of use that to help me guide where I want my pocket, then when I like it, I'm going to press down on this corner because that's the sticky side. And then I'm going to grab this tab and push that down, and then grab the side tab. And we have our pocket. Ta-da! So from here, we can insert the bottom, or not the bottom, the top. And this is cut just a little bit, so it does go in, but not terribly. It's not a lot. Like it's maybe a 1/4 inch, give or take. Yep, give or take, about. And the reason for that is the very top, you'll have the two pieces that came in. You don't want your paper to kind of get stuck if you're trying to put something in here. And by having this piece on top, it will make for a smoother transition. So when you're trying to put things in, you're not going to have it stuck on that little piece right there. So there is method behind the madness always. So this piece right here is cut at 6 5/8 by 4 inches. And for this, I'm just going to apply. I'm going to first sit down, and then I'm going to apply some glue. I have not had a very good glue day. I'm all over the map. I'm trying not to put a huge gobs and gobs and gobs of it because I am going to be kind of shimmying it a little bit. So I put one corner in first and then the other. I'm trying to get that situated as best I can. It is liquid glue, so you do have some mobility, but I wouldn't really, oh, I made a mess of that corner. I wouldn't put it down further than absolutely necessary. And the reason for that, obviously, is then you're going to have glue in your pocket, and you want to try to avoid that. So I kind of go through it a little bit just to make sure that I don't have any glue. I don't feel any glue. I don't see any glue, so that's good. You want to stay kind of away from the bottom if you possibly can when it comes to, you know, when you're applying your liquid glue to your paper. Stay away from the very edge. That's the best tip I can offer for you there. And then the top piece, which I just realized, I do not have another one cut, but the piece that's going to go on top of the pocket is going to be cut at 6 5/8 by 2 7/8. And I'm not going to install it right now because, like I said at the beginning, we want to decorate this first, cut out all the side pieces, and be done with it. If all you're putting in is decorative paper, cut it and put it in. That's totally fine. You don't have to worry about putting other things on. If you are, you might want to do that outside of the album. So I'm going to cut that piece and then we can get to our decorating. Okay, so we have our piece, and now we're coming to the point where we need to add all of our little circles. And it doesn't really matter. They're pretty random. I just try to make sure that my words, these words, are close to, or like kind of beside, the appropriate little circle. So we have July through December for this back piece. So I've got the maple leaf. This is supposed to be for August, September would be the apple. Then we have our pumpkin. Pumpkin is for November. The trick or treat October, obviously. And then we have our mug of cocoa. So these little words are 2 inches in length. So I cut a piece of black cardstock at I want to say it's like 2 1/16. I didn't want to have too much of a black border. So this really fits what I like. And that looks larger. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's more like 2 1/8. This is, I think I actually just had this laying around. I'm not sure that I cut it per se. So I'm going to go through, and I just went one by one. This seemed to be like the easiest way to do it. So I applied because cutting little pieces can be somewhat daunting. So I applied my words and tried to get, it centered by kind of using all the 3 sides. And then I brought it into my little paper trimmer here. And then I just kind of guided it. You can do it with your guillotine if you want to. And then just guided it to where I felt it would be roughly the correct measurement. And then I'm done. So I'm going to continue doing that for the rest of my little word tags, and I'll be right back. All, makes sense. So now we can come in and put in our words. So just remember which words go with what. And then how you want to place them is like entirely up to you. Like to make sure that, they're kind of going in all directions type thing. So I think I Love Recess goes with our apple. And just make sure that if you are putting some of the words off to the side, then or off the edge, that you maybe don't cut off a couple of the more important letters, because that can certainly change how your word or sentence reads. So there we go. We have trick or treat, but I think that needs to go up a little bit. Whoops. And then what I did for my other one, when I was doing the front, I definitely want that up a little bit more, or down. Yeah, you know what? I think I like it like that. Is I ended up taking a picture of it. So when I was gluing everything down, I paid attention to whether the word was on top, was it on the bottom? Because you can, just because I'm putting the words down secondary doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to go on top. I can tuck things in like that If I tuck them underneath, then they're not going to be, you know, on top of things. So it just depends on, you know, your mood, I guess, and how you're feeling and what you want to do. You can stick that one up. There. Marry everything. So I think I kind of like that one. It looks a little bit less random than the first one that I did, but I still love it equally. So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to work on getting this all situated, and then we'll move on to our tags. Okay, so now that I have all of my pieces laid down, glued down, I'm just going to take my scissors, carefully trim this off, get as close to the base without trimming it too. And if it's a little bit different with the black background, I very much doubt that anybody is going to be able to notice. So I wouldn't stress out about getting exactly right on the money. If you do it with a paper trimmer, just again, be careful, make sure everything is lined up. Your blade isn't going to cut into, because that's going to affect how it's going to lay on the actual pocket. Okay, so that's kind of how it looks. And again, kind of debating adding some little stickers and whatnot, but that's probably going to come, you know, once I'm done whatever secondary project I want to make. And that's going to lay on there with just ever so slight a border going all the way around it. So with all the other pieces, with the front cover, spine, and the back cover, I did use double-sided tape. I did use my score tape for that. Oh, I got gobs on that corner. My goodness, I'm telling you, having some issues with my gluing today. Just wipe that on my pants. I don't even know what I was just saying. I did use double-sided tape for the other areas because they're outside. Like, they're on the cover, they're on the outside, they're going to get handled a lot more. These should be just perfectly fine with glue. The outside probably is going to be fine too. I just like that extra reassurance of the score tape. So now we have the insides done as well. I just chose this color because it went with January, and I chose the green because it went with December. That's how that went. Because otherwise, I probably would still be sitting here trying to make that decision. So I'm going to set it aside again and bring in our little tags. So these were just really simple. However, and I didn't leave myself one to kind of show you, there was one tag that had these little angles at the top, and then the other tag had a very rounded corner just at the top. I messed up fussy cutting those so many times that I gave up. And what I did was trying to show you something that would maybe even remotely kind of show. So what I did was I put the one with the rounded corners on the bottom. Held the one with the angled cuts on top, and then I just trimmed off the corners, and that was it. So now I have tags that all have these cute little tickety kind of looking things. And yeah, so all I am going to do for these guys is I've already gone ahead. So this one was kind of my tester. So I went ahead and cut a black piece of cardstock that is 2 inches wide by 3 7/8 inches long. And so I've got 24 in total because there's 2 tags for each month. And so what I'm going to do with these actually is very similar to what I did with the other things, the rounded corners. So as you can see, the corners are not cut off yet. And you can leave it like this if you want. I already know, like on the back, I don't know what color I will put. I don't know if I want to put lined paper. Maybe these are things I want to journal, and then keep them in their own pockets. I'm really not sure what my ultimate goal is going to be for these. So, and I already punched out this circle just because I wanted to make sure I had a circle punch that, not a circle punch, a hole punch that I liked. Okay, so you apply glue to the back. I mean, this is not, if you've gotten this far, you are pretty good with your paper crafting abilities. So I feel like this should be like a walk in the park considering what we've done so far. Good pair of scissors this time. So with the corners, I'm just going to kind of eyeball. It's not always going to work out great, but that's fine. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit thicker. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit thinner. If you want to be a little bit more precise, then you can do your measuring and stuff like that, and that's totally fine. So that's basically all I'm doing for the tags. So I'm going to finish up with these puppies, and then I will be right back. Okay, so all the tags are now done, and I think I'm going to wait to do the backs. I'm unsure if I'm going to cover the entire thing and then punch the holes after. I'm gonna sit on that part of it just for a little bit. But when I ultimately do a walkthrough, which will be when everything is all said and done, then you'll see what I've done with them. So in the meantime, we are now going to move to our pocket inserts. So for this, we're going to need 6 pieces, and these are all cut at 6 1/4 by 6 1/16. 6 1/8 seems to be just a bit on the tight side, so cut it if you want at 6 1/8, see how it fits, but also remember, as you add stuff onto here, so if it's going to be for pictures, as we add cardstock, it is going to be a tighter fit. So just keep that in mind. So it may seem a little bit like loosey-goosey initially, but it will sort itself out. Don't worry. It is a little bit on the longer side, and the reason for that is I'm going to be making some tabs to look something like this. And to make these, I've left myself 2 pieces. And if you can't see, I've actually got like a little R penciled in the corner. That's so that I know which side is the right side. And I mark them at the top right, so I know that this side is the side that I want to do my tabs. So in order to do the tabs, this is the envelope punch board that I have. So I don't know what other ones look like in the sense of like markings, but what I can tell you is that when I punch, okay, so I'm going to do a top tab and a bottom tab. And because my tabs are roughly 2 inches in length, I just decided to do a top and bottom. I'm not messing around with the middle, but if you want to do that, by all means. So my marks, so right here is 1 inch, and then so on and so forth. So I lined it up. This arrow points at this little plastic part that comes out. I have lined up my paper right where that arrow is pointing to. And when I punch, that gives me from the center of this little curve to the end of my paper is a 1/2 inch. So when I move it down to 3.5, so the left side of my paper is lined up with 3.5, I punch again. So that gives me the beginning of my tab. From here, you have two options. So this is giving me a top tab. From here, you can either lay your piece down, right? We're making sure it's square. You can take your metal ruler, place it so it too is nice and straight. And you want to make sure that your ruler is right at the bottom of that curve that we've just punched out. Okay? So then in doing so, we are now going to cut away, not the tab part, that you want to be very careful of. We want to keep this part, but we want to remove the excess. So from down here, probably going to have to go through this twice. I don't like putting a whole lot of pressure, and then I get worried about not tearing the paper so much or the cardstock, but I worry about moving my ruler and then having to get it realigned again. So just go, if you have to do it more than once, then you have to make more than one pass. So that's how we do create this little tab. The reason why it's so long is because, remember, we're using our words from this section. So I did make it more narrow because there's a lot of there's a lot of empty space, blank space surrounding. So I've cut it to suit my needs. And so, and I just chose a series of words or phrase or whatever that would go along with that month instead of using the actual months. So that's one way of doing it. And then the second way, again, is using the punch board. So I apologize if you don't have one. If I figure out a different way of doing it, then I will definitely let you know. Because this is blank on both sides, we haven't really done anything with it. Doing the bottom tab would be just a matter of flipping this over. So now we have a bottom tab. So it's basically doing the same thing. So I'm lining that up between this, like where this arrow is, pointing to this little knob thingy. And then I'm going to go to 3.5 on the left-hand side. I'm lining that up with 3.5 and punching it again. And I have my second piece. And I'm going to remove that and my punch board. The second way that you can cut it is you can just use your paper trimmer. And with the paper trimmer, unless you know exactly where it's going to cut, it does go by a little bit by feel. So you have to go very, very slowly. So if I start from the outside, I'm just going to inch my way down. And you can feel it as soon as it hits the empty space where the bottom of that curve is, it gives a little bit. So I've done that part, and then I'm just going to go all the way to the top and slowly come down, and then it gives. So I am done my top and my bottom. The challenge that I have found with doing it that way is that I'm not as close to the bottom, the very bottom, as I was with my ruler and my craft blade, my X-Acto blade. So I may come in here, kind of tidy it up. Oh, really? Why'd you gotta move? Okay. through? No. There. I just realized that one is just, the one at the bottom was so small. There. So if you wanted to do it, I mean, if you're going to clean it up anyways with your ruler, you might as well just do it with your ruler. So just a side note. So now I have tops and I've got bottoms. I'm going to erase my little R's so that they're not apparent on my tabs or on my sheets. So I'm just going to alternate. I'm going to do, I'm going to alternate between a top tab and a bottom tab. If you want to leave them all tops or bottoms, that's fine too. So that's going to fit into our pocket pages really nicely. So the last thing I need to do is, for this, is make sure that I have all my words figured out. So that one I know is January, and then February, etc. So I'm going to get them all lined up because I'm going to do January, February, and then we're going to have obviously March, April, etc. So I'm going to start applying these and I will be right back. So I have decided what I'm doing with my tag and the tag situation. I cut these white pieces to go on the back because I don't want to go through the process of punching holes and putting decorations, which, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to, without having something on the back, because clearly the black, unless you've got a metallic marker or a white pen or metallic pen, it's just not going to show up, obviously. So I went ahead and I cut all of the pieces. The white pieces are 1 7/8 by, is that 1 7/8? Yeah, 1 7/8 by 3. I cut just over 3 3/4, and the reason for that, 3 3/4 left a bit. Now the sizes are not perfect, in the sense that, you know, you have sometimes a little bit bigger of you know, space at the top, but the 3 3/4 left more of an equal border, if I can say that. So in order to cut the 2 little angles at the top, I put my cardstock, or the tag, so I put the white cardstock at the back, and then I've got it level. If you can see here, it's pretty much level with the top and one side. So I'm going to take my scissors and I push down gently to have them pressed up against the tag, because I don't want to cut the tag. I just want to cut the cardstock behind it. And then I turn it around. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So I just push down to get the cardstock equal with the opposite side, and it's still equal with the top. I push down a little bit to get my blade so that it's not going to catch the tag, and now I've got my tag for the back. So I just kind of whipped through these and did all of them whilst I was doing the pocket inserts. And I will show you what I did with the pocket inserts in just a second. I just left myself 2 to do so that I could do those on camera instead of having to explain how that was done. So that's all done. Here are my pocket inserts. So with the pocket inserts, I took a sticker from the sticker collection. And I did that for each of the months. I took the strips that we had cut off, that was part of the cut apart page, and I applied my sentence that goes with the month. So I'll just quickly run through. I will point out that I did make a small error, and that is, if you can see here, I was not paying attention and I got two bottom tabs side by side. By the time I realized I had two bottom tabs, I had finished all these, and it at that point was too far gone. So I didn't want to have to rip everything up, change my ideas, because everything was already applied. So, you know, things happen. I thought I had all of my cardstock in the proper in the proper position, and clearly that wasn't the case. So anyways, we live, we learn, and that's the way it is. So this was March and April. We have May and June. We have July and August. We have September, October, and then November and December. So for a couple of these, this was actually not the strip. The strip that was cut off was actually this, and this to me did not read November at all. This would have been more like an August or an Easter. So the back side of it happened to be the leaf pattern, so I just used that instead. So you don't have to use the strips. For March too, that's not the strip. I can't remember what the strip was. Oh, it was just like a white and green gingham. So this to me read more like St. Patty's Day. So that's what I did for that. So I've got all of those done. And so now it's just a matter of gluing the tags, punching them, and then I have some baker's twine that I believe I'm just going to use my black and white. Although I do have some baker's twine in a bunch of different colors, so it might also be nice to kind of match them up to what the main color is on the front. So I'm going to have to decide that. Not that it has to be super fancy. And I also just have solid black as well. So I don't know. Well, gluing these down is going to give me some time to think about that. Oh, I did want to mention, because I know originally when I had cut these, I had cut them out of 110 pound. I found that they were already very tight to get in. So I recut these with my 65 pound cardstock. And this way I know I can add things to this and not have any issues getting them back in. So I did want to make a special note about that. Okay, so I'm going to finish up with my tags. And when I'm back, we're pretty much done. So it is, this is probably one of my most favorite projects to date, if not very recently. So hang tight and I'll be back with my completed tags. So here are my tags. Tags are done. All I did was I whipped through, applied my backing, put a little sticker on every single one of them, whatever was kind of like a small sticker to go with that particular month. Put on my baker's twine. I've got 12 tags in the front pocket, 12 tags in the back, so they are chock full. I don't think I could add anything more into these pockets. If you did want to, there's certainly space. I'm just I would become a little bit concerned that as you add things to this album, it's going to become less and less easy to kind of close. So just keep that in mind. If you are wanting a more sizable pocket, you could certainly do a little bit of a gusset on either end, meaning that when you do your score lines, you could do 2 score lines. So you would do them just 1/8 of an inch apart, and that would add and give you some room. So I chose not to do that because I really want my tags to be kind of nice and secure. But I also have no plans to add anything more to this pocket, or the back pocket for that matter. So we've come to the end of our 3-part A Year with My Gnomies calendar album, and I am super, super thrilled. I've said all along that I really do have plans for another project to finish up using the cardstock that we have left over, and I will. I cannot guarantee when that'll happen though. I'd like to ensure that it's sooner rather than later. I've got a couple of more projects that I already had on my schedule, so once I am done with those, then I can it'll give me some time too to kind of figure out what else do I do. Do I do a little folio to go with it? Maybe where it's just very simple. I'm just not sure. Maybe I do some cards. So if you have any ideas, I would really appreciate your feedback on this, because, you know, certainly if there's things that you would like to see or ideas that you might have, even if it's not a full-fledged idea, then that would just be like amazing and super, and I would totally give credit where credit is due. So if you have any questions about anything that you've seen, part 1, 2, or 3, please post them in the comments below. I do read absolutely every single one of them, and I do get back to you. If you're not already a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Be part of our fabulous friends and hit that subscribe button. And other than that, thank you so much for all the love. These tutorials have been great to do. Like I said, this has just been so much fun. I've been waiting for so long to get to this collection, and hopefully it has not disappointed. So thank you so much for all of your love and support. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy a fabulous day and you stay safe and well. See you next time. Bye.